Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Hey, welcome back. Hope things are going well for you today. Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. It's your morning show. My name's Jason Bailey with Randy Cross and Kristen Ledlow in the studio, sitting right across from me, the very first head football coach at Kennesaw State. That would be former University of Georgia grad and player, Georgia native, Brian Bohannon. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here this morning.
Yeah, it's good, man. I didn't realize we had some mutual friends in common, which is kind of cool, from your Georgia Southern days and whatnot. Guys that I grew up with, played with, and whatnot. And I thought a couple of those guys came to Kennesaw State, but they didn't. And you guys got 29 in your recruiting class?
Yeah, we had 29. We signed 29 on the first ever signing class at Kennesaw State. 26 of the 29 are in state. And I think we surprised a lot of people with what we accomplished in this first signing class. I mean, we got the AJC Player of the Year. Griffin High quarterback went 15-0. I mean, that's pretty impressive for our first class. But our staff did a great job. And
well, that's where you're from, right, Griffin?
Yeah, I am.
You pulled some strings.
That helps a little bit. That helps a little bit.
What was your recruiting philosophy this first season?
Well, the main values we talked about when you're laying a foundation for a program, we wanted not only great players, but we wanted great kids with a great academic resume and great character. And so we went out recruiting. That's what we were looking for. Georgia was our home base. I mean, we knew we were going to go cover the state of Georgia and get as many kids as we can. There's so many great football players in this state. And a lot of them get overlooked in recruiting, truthfully. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to make that our home base. And when we went out, that was our philosophy, with the emphasis positionally on OL and DL, just because those are a little more developmental. And we were fortunate we were able to sign 13 offensive and defensive linemen.
Talk to the Falcons.
You got to win in the trenches. There's no doubt about it.
When you went about this recruiting process, how difficult is it to sort of overcome, for all the newness, all the great sizzle around Georgia? Kennesaw State is now getting a football program. I remember when Bill Curry first started at Georgia State, once the enthusiasm died, a lot of these kids kind of looked around and went, well, wait a minute, I got to practice for a year before I get to play a game? I mean, in the recruiting process, did you find that hard to overcome, or was the actual, you could be a groundbreaker, you could be the one that really initiates this program, sell itself?
I think, Randy, it was definitely a challenge that, you're not going to play your first year. All these kids, they want to play now. None of them want to be redshirted. But what we sold was you got a chance to be a part of history. You got a chance to lay a foundation. You got a chance to make a mark on this program for 30, 40 years from now. And kids bought into that, and they bought into the excitement and enthusiasm of being a part of something special. And I think that challenge that you talked about, we overcame that with being a part of history, being a part of something special, and laying the foundation and making a mark on not only an institution but an area and the state before it's all said and done, and I believe the Southeast before it's all said and done. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was definitely a challenge, but I think it was something we overcame with our staff's energy, effort, and enthusiasm to being a part of history.
Mm-hmm. The very first head coach there at Kennesaw State, Brian Bohannon, in studio with us here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. One of the conversations that we were discussing earlier in the program, Brian, was, there are guys like Randy who played at UCLA, then there are guys like me that didn't have that kind of talent, but wanted to play the next level and went and played at Wingate College, in North Carolina. So being an FCS school, there are a lot of kids that it might not be a talent thing. It just might be because of the high school that they went, as you just said, be overlooked. How important is it to have a football program, in your opinion, at Kennesaw State, in a state that is SEC country, where you're surrounded by Georgia, you're surrounded by Alabama, Auburn, Tech, and all these different programs?
Well, football's important in the South. There's no doubt about it, and it's especially important in the state of Georgia. And what we would like to do in recruiting is you take that next tier kid that's not a Georgia Tech, or that kid, and that next tier kid is the one we want to recruit. And and those are the kind of guys we're targeting, to be at Kennesaw State. And I think we fit a great niche right now in the state of Georgia.
I agree.
We're right in there. Really, there's one other public FCS school in the state of Georgia right now. And there's one other private school. So we fit a niche right now that we can find a certain kid that fits what we're looking for. And we're in such a great location. We're 20 minutes northwest of Atlanta. There's 5 million people in Metro Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, with an hour and a half and 2 hours, we can go touch all these players in this area and get them on campus and show them what's going on at Kennesaw State. And I think that was what happened when we got kids on campus. They're like, wow, Coach, I didn't know all this was here. I didn't know you had a brand new stadium and a brand new football locker room. I didn't know you had student housing was a 4-bedroom apartment with 4 bathrooms with a washer and dryer, with a commons area, with a kitchen. You know,
we didn't have 4 bathrooms.
You know, I mean,
a toilet.
I spoke at the broadcasting class at Kennesaw State last year. In fact, I'm going back there today from noon to 1 to talk to them.
All the kids failed, by the way.
First time I had been to Kennesaw State was last year.
Yeah.
Last about the same time of the year, February, March. And I remember getting on that campus, coming out of the parking structure and going, when did they drop this out of the sky?
Yeah.
It's a really nice facility.
Well, and every coach, and when I got involved with the job, and every coach that I interviewed or hired when they came on, they all had the same reaction. So we knew our job was to get kids on campus. And I called it the best kept secret in the South. And it still is to some degree, but it won't be for long. When you got kids or coaches or anybody on campus, their mouth dropped. They're like, wow, Coach, this is unbelievable. We had no idea all this was here. And I think that's a credit to the leadership at the university and what they've done to create a great student environment there. I mean, all the things they have to offer.
What are some of the things that you found that you weren't necessarily expecting implementing a football team for the very first time? Things that have come, you're already smiling over there, like too many things to list?
Yeah, you know, it's a unique process. We studied some other programs and visited with some that were startups as well to try to navigate some of the issues maybe they had. I think in recruiting, when you start, you don't really know what caliber player you can get. You don't really know where to target guys because you're not sure really what direction to go. And I think for us, we started with those values I talked about. But then as we went, you know what? These kids are loving this. Yeah. We can step our game up a little bit. And ultimately, the goal at Kennesaw State is to play for a national championship. That is the goal.
Yeah.
So everything we do revolves around that. We have a win the day motto there that's about win the day on the field, win the day in the classroom, and win the day off the field. Everything we talk about is about winning the day. Everything we want to do, we want to be successful in all 3 facets of what's going on at that university. So, you know, there was a ton of challenges. Recruiting was one. You know, there's things you're so used to. I mean, we moved in the bank. Fifth Third Bank's one of our sponsors, and it's the name of the stadium, Fifth Third Bank Stadium. Well, we were in the bank. There was about 5 of us in the top of the bank as our first office.
Your football office was
that
in
was
the
our
bank?
football office
the
in the
locker
top
room,
of the bank.
The locker room, the vaults?
No locker room, no, just office. And I got up there the first day, and there's no pencils, there's no paper, there's no. I mean, you
guys
don't
didn't
think
get
about
us chairs.
Like what? You know, there's things you just don't think about.
Right.
But I think as we've gone, you know, the facilities, they've built a facility for us that's temporary, that's unbelievable. And the great thing about Kennesaw State from top to bottom is everything they do is first class. It's a first-class organization, and the kids get it when they come on campus. They say, dang, Coach, this is nice. I said, we're only going to be in here 3 years.
What kind of support are you getting from the community? I mean, I know that as far as the ticket situation goes, as of what did I read this week, the school already surpassed the football season ticket deposits. But the surrounding areas, I can only imagine, I would think there's a lot of excitement going on, right?
That may be the one thing I was most impressed by when I got the job. A lot of different speaking engagements. We're trying to get the word out, you know, about what's going on. And everywhere I went, Coach, we're so excited. We can't wait for football. You know, it's our college, it's our hometown, it's close by, and you see that's reflected in the ticket sales. I mean, we've sold 2,500 season tickets. There's only 1,000 left. We don't play for over a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty big commitment from the community right there. And we had a signing day celebration that night. We had approximately 450 members of the community show up for that signing day celebration. Wow. That right there, to me, is a huge difference in us having success, is that community support. That has been unreal. Everywhere I've been and our staff has been, it's been, Coach, we can't wait. We're so excited about what's going on.
With your background with Coach Johnson, as many places you were with him, and a divergent kind of, you were Coach Dooley in college, safe to say you'll be doing something run-oriented, option-style offense with the ability to also throw the ball?
Yeah, no doubt. Our offense will be the Kennesaw State offense. You know, when you see us in 3 or 4 years, we're going to be a hybrid, a little bit of tech, a little bit of Auburn, a little bit of Northern Illinois. We're going to pull together and come up with our offense. There's 3 things that you got to do to win a championship, and you go look at any level and this happens. You got to be able to run the football. You got to play great defense, and you got to be sound in special teams. And ultimately, that's going to be our goal. We signed some awfully good quarterbacks and awfully good wideouts. We're going to be able to do some things throwing the football that we maybe haven't done before, and I think we're really excited about that as an offensive staff. We are going to evolve. You know, we have a framework, but we're going to evolve based on our personnel. And if we got guys that can do some things better in the gun, we'll spend more time in the gun. If they're a little better in center, we'll be able to do a little bit of both as we go.
Coach, can you hang out for another segment?
Be glad to.
All right, unless you got to go somewhere.
I'm good.
Yeah, cancel those plans.
Recruiting. It's a little early recruiting now.
All right. More with Coach Brian Bohannon, first head football coach there at Kennesaw State. Having a good time. Is it Owl Nation? Am I getting that right? Owl
Nation.
Owl Nation. Gotcha.
Yeah. Love it.
I don't want to screw that up. I want to get bombarded on the Twitter at Owl Nation at Mr. Jason Bailey. That's how you get followers, by the way. More with Coach here up next on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Finishing out the final hour here on a Friday, Sports Radio 92.9 The Game, your morning show. Jason Bailey, Randy Cross, Kristen Ledlow in studio. Got the honor of sitting down with the very first head football coach, Kennesaw State, and the Owls. That's Brian Bohannon in with us talking about the new program, how successful it is in the area. With the surrounding, somebody on the Solomon Brothers Diamond text line, Coach, was talking about the surrounding high schools. And with the relationship with Kennesaw State and those high schools, especially with some of the kids that you're going to have in for the inaugural class.
Yeah, well, one of the
hold on, we got to turn you on there. There you go.
One of the first priorities when I got the job was to, that greater Cobb County area. You got Cobb and Cherokee and Paulding and Bartow, all those counties that are right there where we are.
Yeah,
we had a reception for all the high school coaches, and we wanted them to know this is your university.
Smart.
This is home base. This is where, and this is an open door policy. And we want to if we can get the best players shoot within an hour of our school, we're going to be good. Because there's great football in that area. So that was an emphasis for us, is getting the best players we can in that area, and then obviously the Metro Atlanta and the state of Georgia.
Well, and I was telling Randy earlier with the just caliber of coaches in the high school area just around here, you've got first stringers that are going to LSU, Alabama, Auburn, wherever it is. You've got kids who've been playing behind them and against them for 4 solid years who are going to be, I'm sure, excellent recruits for you.
Yeah, no doubt. There's just a lot of good football players here. There really is in this state, and like you said, the coaching is second to none. This is the best in the country, in my opinion. The coaches do an unbelievable job, and I think our staff's done a great job. We go out and we do a great job evaluating and not worrying about who's recruiting who, but evaluating who's best for Kennesaw State. And I think that's important in this day and age, is to go find what's best for your program and what fits you and what gives you a chance to be successful.
We were talking during the break about your experience at Georgia Southern, how great it was to win a couple national champions, be the best FCS team there is in the country a couple of times. Is that an advantage also from your perspective when it comes to recruiting, to having been in South Georgia? All those South areas, those great high schools, because there's amazing football played down South, and it's no news to anybody else, but it's also some pretty incredible stuff.
Well, there's no doubt. And in my coaching career, I've made a lot of different stops at the Naval Academy, at Georgia Southern, West Georgia, Georgia Tech. I played at Georgia, but I've always recruited this state. And so I've probably been in just about every high school myself in my coaching career in the state of Georgia. And so over time, you establish relationships. And a lot of the guys I've hired are very much the same in that they've had relationships in the state of Georgia with these coaches. And no matter where it is, whether it's in South Georgia, Middle Georgia, North Georgia, Atlanta Metro, wherever it is, state of Georgia is number one for Kennesaw State, and that will never change. And there's too many good players that we'll go to every school in the state, no matter if they're 8-man football or they're a small private school. We will go to every school in the state of Georgia at a minimum of once a year. We will walk in that school and find out what's there. And I think that's about going out and working it and evaluating to find the best players.
In the studio with us, head football coach there for the inaugural season of Kennesaw State and the Owls, Brian Bohannon. Would you take on a player that has been dismissed from another program, i.e., for example, Josh Harvey Clemens? You know what I'm saying? Conversation we were having the other day is, with some of these schools, is it they let go? Like you look at Nick Marshall and Mettenberger and stuff, and they go on to be successful at other programs, and maybe that's what they needed, a swift kick in the behind. But being a first season and making your mark as the head football coach there, and these guys having some of that baggage, but still so talented and playing at that high college level, would you welcome some of these guys to Kennesaw State?
Well, I think there's a couple answers to that, Jason. And one is, obviously, we're trying to create a culture right now. And we put an emphasis on recruiting high school kids in this first class and making that our foundation class. Our second recruiting class will include some transfers to manage our roster and to get ready to have some older kids when we start playing, other than just freshmen and redshirt freshmen. Yeah. I think each case is an individually based thing. We have to do our homework and find out and make sure that fits Kennesaw State football. And that's hard to say. Is it Harvey Clemens or is it Nick Marshall? Or is it? I think that's all individually based on doing our homework on finding out what's going on, why is that person not at the program he was at originally, and then evaluating that and making a decision based on what's best for the program.
Well, you'd be open-minded about it.
Oh, no doubt. No, like I said, we're going to take some transfers in this next recruiting class.
Well, these kids need second chances.
Yes,
that's right.
They accidentally drop a laptop out of a window and then win a Heisman. It's a gray area.
Oops.
You keep mentioning, though, the perfect fit for Kennesaw State. What exactly is that? Describe that kid.
Well, I think it goes back to the culture we're trying to create, and it does go back to the win the day philosophy. Not only do I want us to win football games, I want us to win in the classroom. I want our kids, when they go to the student housing or they go to the dining hall or they're communicating with other people on campus, they say, you know what? These football players over here, they treat us with respect. They know how to handle their business. So I think it's important we talk about fit. It's not just can we win on Saturday. Can we win the other 6 days of the week? And can we win in the classroom? The GPA of the athletic department is a 3.15 right now at Kennesaw State. That's pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. And you say, well, football's coming. I said, well, that doesn't matter. Why can't we be a 3.0? Why can't we capture all facets of what's going on? I see no reason we can't.
Well, especially now in college athletics, we were talking earlier about attendance, especially student attendance.
To the games.
I did a game earlier this year. It was UCF at FIU, Florida International. Between those two schools, they have about 100,000 students, and there was maybe 5,000 people in the stands.
It was at FIU, right?
It was at FIU, but still,
because that's a new program.
But you've got to appeal to the student body, right. And the best way to appeal to the student body, like you're saying, is through your student athletes.
No doubt. I mean, and our guys, when they get on campus for the first time ever in fall, we're going to make an impression. I mean, that'll be the first time there ever been football players on campus, full-time enrolled students that are football players ever in the history of the school. We're going to make an impression. That's why it goes back to the values Chris and I talked about. We got to have the right kids, because when they step foot on, they are laying the foundation for who and what we want to be. And I know how I want us to look. Now, also, we know we're dealing with 17 to 21-year-olds. We know that's not going to be perfect. That's just part of it. But we want to represent ourselves in the right way, and I think that's important when you look at what are we looking when you say Kennesaw State fit. That's it. And not that means those characteristics, every kid's going to hit them all. Some will hit some will hit others. We'll develop the rest. That's our job. That's why we coach. And ultimately we want these kids to graduate from college and be successful in life. If the NFL calls, that is great, because that means they've been a heck of a player for us.
Right.
But at the end of the day, that stuff, as Randy knows, it's going to come to an end at some point.
Yeah.
And you got to have a life plan.
Who are we playing? Who's Kennesaw State going to be playing? Some of the schools.
We'll be in the Big South Conference. So our first year out of the gates, we'll play a full conference schedule.
Yeah, I'm part of the team, by the way. I did say we. I feel
well, good. I
just am really enjoying this conversation.
Be an owl.
Well, once he told me that my room would have a washer and dryer in it, I'm like, okay.
Go ahead, Coach.
The Big South Conference right now, Coastal Carolina, who went to the semifinals of the FCS playoffs and got beat by North Dakota State, who's won 3 national championships in a row. Charleston Southern, Presbyterian, Gardner-Webb, Liberty. I'm missing one. But anyways, there's in Monmouth up in New Jersey. They just added them as well. So those will be the Big South. The other 5 non-conference games will be, we schedule the first 2 years to create a winning culture. Again, It's all about win the day. I know I keep going back to the same thing, but we're trying to create a culture about winning in the classroom, off the field, and on the field. So we're not scheduling Alabama in the first year because that's not creating a winning culture.
Well, Georgia State started 6-5 for a first-year program. That really got their enthusiasm at a great level. Same thing you're talking about, being able to appeal and say, look, we're going to beat some of these people that are on our schedule, first year or not.
Well, and the big thing is give our kids a chance to be successful.
Yeah.
You don't want to put them on that's like putting them in a chemistry class you know they're going to fail. Well, that doesn't do any good.
It beats them down.
So we want to create a culture because winning is contagious and losing is contagious.
Yeah.
And so we want to get started on the right note, and each year we build and we have a model that will get us to the playoffs and give us a chance to win a championship as we get into year 3. First 2 years are conference, and then, creating a winning culture, and that's just a chance to be competitive. Doesn't mean we're going to win them, but we got a chance to be competitive. We'll open up with East Tennessee State University on September 3rd on a Thursday night in 2015 for their first ever football game. They're starting up. We're starting up. They had a program in Camden in 2003. Yeah. They're starting back up, so that's going to be a lot of excitement with two programs.
Sounds like a fair fight to me.
Yeah, so it's 2 programs starting up, and so we're excited about that. We'll go up there, then they'll come back to our place in 2016. So we're excited about that.
We got to let you go, but I don't know if this means anything to you, Coach. But I'm in. I buy in. I really enjoyed this conversation.
You now have 30 recruits.
There you go. Holders even.
I hope that you call us often. I really do. Yeah. I really am a fan, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck at Kennesaw State. I think this is going to be great. Well, great for the area and the kids.
Yeah, no doubt. And I appreciate you guys having us on this morning, and we'd love to be a part of the 92.9 The Game at any point in time.
Anytime, Coach. Anytime. Brian Bohannon, first head football coach there at Kennesaw State. Support the Owls. That's what you got to do. Support the Owls.
Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Get in the game on Twitter at 929 The Game.
On Facebook /929 The Game.
On YouTube /929 The Game.
Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.